All right, it's tournament time again. We've got the Skyline Cup tournament. It's 2019, right around the Memorial Day stuff. So let's take a look at these holes here. There's going to be, for those of us playing in the rookie division, we're not going to get to practice a lot of these holes. There's only like 3 of the 9 holes that we're going to get to practice. So I do have a playlist up, and I put some videos in there. And I think maybe I got one of the holes wrong just based off of the original picture that Playdemic sent out. I do have, I think, all of the holes that are going to be in this tournament except for maybe hole number 7. So you have to look around a little if I don't. I'll try and make sure I get the right holes in the playlist. But this is going to be hole number 1, and this is going to be one of those tournaments where hole number 1 is definitely critical, that we want to try and get an eagle on this hole. So there's lots of different ways to come at it. My preferred way to come at it is with an extra mile and a Titan. Now you can use a 4-power ball, and you probably won't have to use any overpower here. And what I'm going to do from the tee box is there's a spot right in this area, and from this spot you can get your landing zone to be right out here, and you're going to be either in your minimum short iron or your maximum wedge. And so this is definitely a makeable shot. However, the shot to the green over here to get to the pin's kind of like on the side of a hill. And so when we're over here coming at it this direction, everything wants to roll down to the right. It is a tricky shot to get it to go from here into the cup, but this is the best shot. So what I find when I'm in these areas down here where I'm trying to pinch and get into these areas is one of the things is that the ball guide's slightly lying here. So like if you're right there for your landing zone, it actually carries just a little bit farther here. So you have to be aware of that. I would always leave a minimum of 2 rings to start off with in our practice when you're setting the shot up down here. And that's why with your clubs, if you can't quite get out there and it's going to be hard with overpower. It's a tricky shot to get into this area. So what I normally do is I'll cheat to the left. So I'll keep pulling it forward, max overpower until I get to the 2 rings off of this transition, and I'll keep pulling it out to the left, and then I have to put more curl in order to get it to come back. But this is definitely going to be our landing area here, trying to get the ball to come out in front on the other side of those trees and be right in this area here. So we're in that short iron maximum wedge range, and really that's the best way to play this hole. There's other ways that you can try and get over there. I see a lot of people hitting into this area, then you have to contend with the trees, hitting way out into this area. You still have to move it around the trees. Those are pretty much relegating yourself to an easy birdie and a grim chance for eagle. Whereas if you can put your ball up here, you have an awesome chance for eagle. And if you land up out here and you don't make the birdie, something went really bad. But this is definitely a hole that you need to mark on your sheet, that we need to get an eagle on this. Most people are going to get birdies, and there's going to be more people that get pars than get eagles. And so if you can start your round off with an eagle on hole number 1, it's going to really set you up for success for the rest of the round. All right, hole number 2. See if I can remember this one. This is a dangerous par 3. Now, in the past, what I've done on this is I don't like to do the run up where you're starting down low and you're trying to run it up. And the reason is that right here in front of this green area, right here where that line's out, there's the bottom of a hill. So when you're here coming up, you're here, and then it comes up the hill and goes to the green. And the flag is about halfway up the green, and it's right towards this crest. So if you're trying to dribble the ball up and run it up to the green, there's a good chance you might get caught up on this hill. And if you get caught up on the hill, your ball is going to end up right back down here where that line's at. And it's very easy to end up getting sucked into the rough or even into the sand here. So this hole, what I like to do is I like to come at it with a little bit of backspin, and I like to be a little bit closer. Now in the past, because of the way the ball guide runs here, you're kind of pinched up against this transition between the first cut of the rough and the fairway. And it'll tend to want to be like just one ring. It'll be really close to this. What I don't like about that is that if you hit a grate to the right, you're in the rough. And you do not want to be having to make a chip shot from the bottom of this green up. If you're in trouble, it's always better to be in trouble on the backside because it's flat up here. So what I did the last tournament is I moved my ball. Instead of trying to come up here and follow the ball guide, I moved it out into the very center. So I was pretty much white ring wedged in this spot, and then I made my adjustments from there, where I'm having to put on a little bit more right hand side spin. I'm not having to use any curl, but I'm having to use all the right hand side spin. So this is definitely a hole that you want to make sure you bring. I'm going to start off with a navigator, and if the navigator's not getting it done, I'll switch to a quasar just for the side spin, just to be able to bring the ball back to the hole. But this is a hole, these par threes. The deal with every par three is that you have to pick a spot with your club that you're going to bring to that hole, and you've got to work that spot to death. So you come here and you go, okay, I put my white ring so that it's touching the rough on this side and it's touching the rough on this side, and I'm right dead center in the middle, and I'm going to put on 4 side spin, and I'm going to put on 3.5 backspin, and try that shot and go, hey, I keep hitting up to the right, I keep hitting up to the right. So you're going to change stuff and keep dialing it in until the weekend round comes. And every one of us will have to do that with whatever club we brought. Now, if I've got the same level club as you, then and I'm getting successful at it, then you can switch up. But par threes are, for me, guarantee that you can get a birdie, and then continue to work that shot as much as you can throughout the week, so that in the weekend round you've made that shot so that it guarantees you a birdie, but you have a shot at a hole-in-one. That's the goal on these par threes. And this is a very dangerous par three. This par three right here is going to ruin some people's tournaments. And it looks pretty straightforward, but it is definitely rough. All right. Hole number 3 of the Skyline tournament. Okay. When this hole first came out, and I've only played this hole in the tournament. This is not a very old hole, and when it first came out, you know, it's pretty difficult even a rookie to get over to this landing pad unless you bring a bigger ball. And if you come over to this landing pad and you make it through the neck here and you get into this landing pad, your approach coming into the green, in many cases you're probably going to have to land off of this fairway area and bounce over this rough, in which case that you're looking at a wood shot here. That this is probably not going to be a great shot for a Guardian because it's only got 2 topspin. So if you've got to bridge this gap, this is going to be more like a sniper or a big dog. And depending on the clubs in your bag, a big dog's going to be a good choice on this hole for a lot of people. Unless you can get up here and you've got a higher level developed sniper, a level 8, level 9, level 10 level sniper, where it gets its distance and it's got the topspin to get over that gap. You'll have to pick that club depending on your bag. Now, I thought originally when this hole first came out that, you know, like looking at it from the bottom, like looking at what kind of traps you have in here, you're putting a lot of stuff in play. But this shot from the lower part right here, you can actually get right into, you have a couple ways of coming at it. You can get right into here and bounce over. Or if you get far enough in there, you can start off on the green side. And it gives you a pretty good opening here. You got a pretty good run. Whereas if you come in at an angle like this, you don't have quite the run to the green that you do when you're in the lower shot. So the way I'm going to do this hole is I'm going to come at it with a QB and a Kingmaker. And I'm going to try and dig myself as far down into that hole as I possibly can. Now this drive shot's going to be scary because when you take, if you look at the transition here on how far you can get out and you draw the line to the tee box, you draw that line out, that's pretty much what your ball guide's going to be looking like, and you have to get down into this hole. And so side spin's going to get a little bit of it done for you because you got to be off a little bit from that transitional area. So you're going to be looking out towards this. Side spin's going to get a little bit of it done, but you're going to have to curl it in order to get it down into that hole. And it's going to be a blind shot. The ball guide's going to be literally going out here in this direction, and you're going to have to line that up and then the only thing that's going to bring it back to the fairway is going to be curl. So it's going to be one of those shots you'll have to practice a few times to get comfortable with the curl that you're putting on it. But I'm going to dig myself down into this hole as far as I possibly can so that I can come right at the green, and I'm going to bring a sniper. So I'm going to use my accurate bag, a QB, and a sniper on this hole, and go for. It'll give you an Albie shot, but it'll definitely give you an easy eagle. Hole number 4. Another one of the par 3s. Now this par 3, I can't remember exactly what club I'm using on this par 3. I believe that this is a Backbone or a Saturn club. I think it's a long iron. And I saw, and this is another one of those holes that I played only in the tournament that it came out on. These were brand new holes here just a few months ago. They all came out for a tournament, and I think that's pretty much about the only time I've played them. But during that tournament, I saw people coming at this hole in 3 different ways. Some people were bouncing off over here and then trying to bring it in. Some people were bouncing back up in here and then trying to bring it in. And I'm not interested in either one of those shots. I'm not interested in this shot right here because it puts this rough, this sand all into play. And you've got to make sure that you get the wind adjustment right here so you don't end up in the rough here. And you're putting a lot of stuff into play on a par 3. This shot over here is a little bit better. At least you've got an open track to the green, but you're still having to curl it around in order to bring it in here. And I saw a lot of people clip the rough right here. I'm going to do like I do on all these par 3s. I'm going to draw a line in front of those traps. And this stuff doesn't exist to me. The only part of this is it right here. I want to start off on the green side past this trap and get that ball to stop. So whatever that takes, whether it takes me using a small ball and a Guardian or a bigger ball in my Saturn or whatever it takes for me to get to this spot right here. And what I'd really like to see is, depending on the wind that we have in the tournament, is working my ball so that I'm right at my red line. So I'm right at minimum club or I'm right at maximum club, whichever way it works out. But I want to be right at that's a truer number. It's better when you're at minimum club, but if it doesn't work out that way and you're at maximum club, so you're hitting on this side of the line, you can push that line. So if you're, let's say with a Marlin, your line is here, and you want to, and then let's say you were Guardian there and Saturn on this side of the line, and you want to move that line forward, you're going to use you were using a 0 power ball, so if we use a 1 power ball, the line's going to move forward. We use a 2 power ball, the line's going to move forward. 3 power ball, the line's going to move forward. So we can pick what we want. If we want to stay in our Guardian range, then we're going to have to drop down ball. If we want to get more in our Saturn range, we're going to have to pick up a bigger ball in order to get to that range. So these par 3s are always a work in progress until the weekend round. And if you watch my videos, that's pretty much, I'm sure people are like, man, this guy sucks on these par 3s. But when the weekend round comes, it's all about putting it together on the weekend round. I really don't care about the par 3 as long as I get birdies on them in the qualifying round and the opening round. I'm working on those, trying to dial them in for the weekend round. All right, hole number 5. Let's see if I can remember hole number 5. And I can't. So I'm assuming in rookie, our choices I can't remember playing this hole. I think this was in one of the other majors, and we're either going to lay up here or we're trying to bounce over to get up into this area. Now it does look like there's, from the tee box, we can get way up into that area up there if we can hit the shot. I'll have to play this hole a few times. It's been I literally cannot even remember playing this hole. But I do know that we're either going to be laying it up out here trying to get that distance. And this out here is not really good because it puts, if you're looking for the distance-wise, when you're coming out, look at the sand trap here. And if you get out into this area, you put that sand trap into play. So if you're laying it up out here, it might almost be better to just lay it up, to get right in this area so that you've still got a pretty good straight shot to the green. And I'm not sure which club this is going to be. It's probably, looking at this, it's probably going to be at least at least a long iron, might be a wood. Is this a par 4? Par 4. So it'll be a long iron. So if you laid up out into this area where you still have an open shot to the throat and you still have some movement to it, even if you laid up down here short where you can come straight in at it. So if you're laying up on this pad out here, what I would recommend that you do is get a shot that you can do consistently that's not requiring any overpower or anything special, and just lay it up out there and then see from that spot, like your angle at the green, like, hey, I like it out here, or this club right here will work, or man, if I had just a little bit more angle on it here, it'd be better. So that means that you're going to short shoot that drive and try and bring it closer to the end down here. If you've got backspin clubs and it works better in your backspin club for you to be way up here so that you can start right on the edge, then that's what you want to do. So you'll have to work this area here depending on your clubs. If your goal is to get out here, your goal is to get out there as far as you possibly can, because you want to get into your short iron range. Anytime you can get into your short iron range on a par 4, you increase the odds that you're going to get eagle on it. This hole definitely seems like it's going to be an eagleable hole, especially in rookie. This hole is going to be very difficult in the pro and expert, because from that second tee to get over to here, it's going to be ball dependent. You're going to need to bring a ball that'll get you over to that spot. All right, hole number 6. This is a hole that's been around for a while, and this is another one of the tricky holes. I prefer to come to this hole, once again, with my accurate bag. The goal is to get down into this, then use this island to bring you to the green. There is a very good Albie shot on this. This hole definitely, if you can put yourself down into this area, you give yourself a serious albatross shot every time you get to this hole, but it can be very tricky to get down in here. Now I see people all the time shooting up into this area, and I don't like this shot up here. You've got to, it seems like, well, I could just kind of bring the ball this way, or when you're here and you're trying to land there and you draw the line and you do the arc, we're outside of that arc. So if you come out into this area right here and you've got, let's say, a kingmaker, and you're in this area, a kingmaker and a sniper will just get you to this pad. Like red line will be right there on that pad. So you're using maximum club. So a kingmaker and a sniper will barely get you that distance, and you're farther back here. So number one, if you're shooting up to the top, you're going to need a big ball. And number two, you're going to need the biggest, baddest wood in your bag. And even then, you may not have enough distance. I've never seen people be super successful up at the top. Typically, if you want to be successful in this hole, you got to get down to the bottom. And you can do this with a extra mile. It's just harder because it doesn't have a lot of curl, and it's hard to walk it around corners. Whereas with a quarterback, it's a little bit easier to get down in here. It's got a little bit better ball guide. You can see what's going on. It has a lot more stuff to it. It's a better utility club, especially for getting around corners like this. Now, when you're trying to get around a corner, let me back off here so I can see so if we draw a line from the flagpole to the tee box, obviously we have nothing but traps, so we have to go to the left in order to do this. So when we're coming out here to this spot, this is the angle that we're trying to fill right here. And so when we come out here to this spot, our ball guide's going to be going out into the sand. We're going to have to apply curl in order to bring it back into the fairway down here. And whenever you apply curl on something, what'll happen is let's say your bounce is right here and the ball's going in this direction. Well, when you apply curl and you move it this way, then you put this rough into play where it can clip that rough and then just dribble out. And you can still make it with a sniper if you dribble out, but it's better if you can get out here towards the tip, or at least halfway down. You don't have to get all the way down. Even this little depression right here, if you can get down into that area right there, you still got a great shot. You don't have to get all the way down in there, but you have to get down in there. And so when you line this shot up, be very cognizant of when you set your shot up down here on this transitional line, that you give yourself 2 or 3 rings and pull yourself off in this direction so that when you apply the curl, you give it enough room to be able to become effective. I see a lot of people where they're pinching themselves down here and then they put curl on it, and then what it does is they just clip the rough right here and they get caught up in the rough. You got to pull yourself out a little bit to the left, so when you apply that curl to the right, it has more room to become effective. But this is definitely a hole that we have an albatross shot on, and all it takes is it's one shot at a time. Get that drive shot down in there, and then you have an albatross shot. And you can pretty much do it with any wood. I prefer a sniper just because it has better ball guide. Hole number 7. Now this is another one of the par 3s that there's multiple ways to come at it. Okay, there's a hillside right here, and there's a flat area right here. There's a flat area. Now I see people do a bunch of different stuff on this. You can see where there's like a little ridge going right here. So there's a flat area right here, then there's a ridge, and this is like a little bowl that goes down into this area, and this is a bowl that goes down into this area, and it all kind of slopes towards the green. So I see people do the shot where they're coming from the bottom and they're trying to bring it all the way up. I see people come from over here. I see people try and ride this ridge, and what they do is they come at it along this hillside and let it drop back down to the hole. So there's lots of different ways that people will play this hole, and once again with par 3s, you can play any of those. You can literally play any spot that you want. You can pick a spot right here and make that spot work for you. All you have to do is find this spot right here and go, okay, there's my yellow ring, and here's my gold ring, and here's my blue ring, and my blue ring is rubbed up against the rough and it's rubbed up against the sand, and that's my starting point. So every single time you come to this hole, you start in the same spot, and then from that point on, you start to dial that shot in. You start to dial that shot in. You start to dial that shot in. The first time you do it, it comes over here, and the next time it comes over here, and the next time it comes over here, and the next time you're over here, and then you make an adjustment and you move it back, and you keep working that spot. Whether that spot's there, wherever you want to start, pick a spot and start working it. Me, I am going to do exactly what I do on all of these par 3s. I'm going to put all of these, I'm going to take all of this stuff completely out of play, and I'm going to start my ball right up here on the flat, and I'm going to use a backspin club, my Saturn, and I'm going to go right at the hole. If I was in pro and I was doing this with a wood, I would go right to this spot and I would use my Guardian, and I'm going to go right to the hole. Now whenever you're doing backspin, backspin will get you close to the hole, but it doesn't necessarily increase your odds that you're going to get a hole-in-one. We all know how that works. With backspin, it looks great. You're always close. It always looks cool, but it doesn't necessarily drop any more often than anything else. But what it does do is it 100% guarantees you to get a birdie. And then if I get a hole-in-one, then that's a bonus. But I'm going to work the shot from the flat and go straight at it with backspin. Now I'll have to start a little bit behind the hole and bring it back to the hole. Now let's talk about the risk for this shot. The risk for this shot is that if you start off too low down here and your ball is fairly even with the cup when you start that backspin and you miss it, you miss the cup and it doesn't give you the hole-in-one, that ball may backspin down this hill and go back down to this flat. And it can be a very tough putt from down here, even though it's not that far away. So ideally, in past experience, when I hit this shot, my ball guide's going to be, I'm setting my bounce up behind the hole, and then once it engages, then it brings it back down to the hole. And in a worst case scenario, I might dribble past it just a little bit, but I stay up here close to the pin. What I don't want to do is start at the pin and then have it backspin down and then end up way down here at the bottom of the hill. So these par 3s, pick a spot. Pick your club, pick a spot, and work that spot, and you'll be amazed at how you're like, wow, I do really good on this hole when I do it this way, and that's because you work that spot. But I'm always about getting on the green on par 3s and avoiding all the traps. I don't like traps on par 3s. This is a hole that is rough. This is one of the hardest. It may not be the hardest par 4 in this game, but this is definitely, this hole right here, there's the amount of people that get birdie and the amount of people that get pars are going to be a pretty close number. And there's going to be just a few people, maybe 2 in 100, 3 in 100, that get an eagle on this hole. This is a tough hole to eagle. This is a tough hole to birdie. Because if you get caught up in any stuff down here and can't get on in 2, you're in trouble. So you can get to about this area right in here and still be able to get on in 2. Especially if you brought a big dog, you can get up here with a big dog. The farther up you get, obviously, you can start getting into sniper range and you can start doing some stuff. If you can clear the gap here, if you can get past this gap and get out into this area, you can use a guardian and start off on the green and try and backspin it onto the green and try and get in the hole. Where you're starting on the green side. You're not trying to do the bounce over and bring it up. The problem with the bounce over here is, here's this area right here. Here's that area, it's flat. Then we have the little sand trap. And then we go up the hill to the green, and it is up the hill to the green. It is really steep. So from your bounce here is on the flat. And that next bounce, when it hits here, it's going up this hill. So you're going from the flat, and then you're hitting that hill, and it wants to do a straight up bounce. So it's very easy to get on this hill face and end up dribbling back down towards the sand and getting into this area. So, and there's a fine line. If you get high enough up on this hill so that you can get over, you're up in this area, now you take the risk that you'll blow over the green. So it's a real tricky green to get on when you have to do the bounce over to get up there. The main thing is that this is definitely a one shot at a time hole where you have got to get into the clear. And you do not have to get all the way out here. All you have to do is get anywhere in this zone right here. Just anywhere out here. And you can make it on with a big dog, depending on your clubs, could be a sniper. If you're hitting back further, trying to bump it up there, it's better to probably use a big dog or a sniper and not a guardian, because a guardian's only got 2 topspin, and you know that may or may not be enough when you get down into here. It may not give you enough versatility to make that shot. So in most cases, this is definitely going to be a big dog. Or a sniper, like I said, a sniper. But you really only have to get down into this area. So to get into that area from the tee box, let's see how far back I can scroll. So if we do our line here to the area that we're trying to get to, everything runs through the sand, so you're going to have to bring your ball around in order to get it in there. To get out into this area, I usually use this area right here as my starting point. So I'm bouncing into this area, and my first bounce goes over, and then my second bounce lands, and then I bounce over this area, and then it dribbles through that trough. It's a very tricky shot, and it's very easy to get caught up in the rough down here. Now, if you get caught up in the rough down in this area where you're all the way down in here, if you have a Nirvana, you can get on. If you get caught up in the rough anywhere in this area or back behind this line, you're in big trouble. If you're going to get caught in the rough, it needs to be up here forward, and then you still have a shot to get on if you bring a big rough iron. So if you don't have a Nirvana, this might be a hole to bring your Amazon. Your Amazon doesn't have really good ball guide, but what it does have is it's got a lot of backspin. So if you can get out into this area, especially if you got out where you could get over, you could backspin it on. But it could be the utility club that helps you out, and it's primarily distance. You're going to have to give up something in order to get that distance. So, but I think on this one, traditionally, I use an extra mile and a Titan. And I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to bounce from here and trying to get my ball to move in this direction to go through the gap. The safe play here is to come here with a QB. Start yourself off a little bit to the right so that you can bring your ball and just lay it up out into this area. As the week goes on and we start working this hole, we'll start to develop a better strategy for how we want to play it with our particular clubs. But this is definitely going to be a hole that's, if you try and play it safe to get the birdie and you just do the layup out here, you still have a ton of work to get it onto the green. If you do the shot to get out here to get into the clear, to try and increase your odds of getting an eagle, you still have a ton of work to do to get that ball up on the green. So this is not an easy hole. This is going to be a hole right here that's going to cause everybody problems throughout the week. So just trying to be good and consistent on it. That's why doing the layup shot here, doing a layup shot and working that layup shot throughout the week so that you know what your second club needs to be, and then just getting your birdie and going home, giving yourself at least a look at eagle, get your birdie, get to the next hole. But I always say when I get to this hole in tournaments that I'm going to do the layup here and I'm going to play it nice and safe, but then I end up going for the gap. So we'll see how this tournament works out on as I get this hole more and get more confidence on the hole. Hole number 9. Yes. Okay, this hole right here, I've hit several albatrosses on this hole, and it is doable. The way that most people play this hole, okay, there's several ways. Ideally, for me, I want to get right into this area right here. I want to get somewhere between the second shadow and the third shadow, up where this little small tree right here is creating that shadow. This is my target area. That's where I want to get to. If you get up here and you get in the rough, you can still get on. You can still go from here and bring it down, and you can still achieve what you want. If you end up in any trouble on this side of that line, you are in big trouble. Even if you short shoot it and you're in the fairway, you're fine because you can land from this fairway and bounce it over. But if you end up in the rough out here, you're in big trouble. So let's talk about the landing zone here. So in my bag, I'm going to use an extra mile and a Kingmaker, but if you've got a higher level developed Apocalypse, like even level 4, heck, even maybe level 3, that might be a better club just for the curl, just depending on your extra miles level and how much curl it has. But now you can do a bounce over here and try and run yourself through, but you're going to end up short down here by this first shadow, and you will definitely on the approach shot have to bounce over to get over to the green side. Another thing I see a lot of people do is their red line is right here. And typically in tournaments when we've had this, the wind's blowing in this direction. So the red line's right here, and they do max overpower or some overpower, and they leave the wind in to push them out into the fairway here so that they can get maximum distance. The problem I don't like with this shot is that the setup for the shot, when you start off, you're right there. That's where your ball guide is. So you have to pick up the wind and you have to pick up some overpower in order to move yourself back into the fairway. When you're doing overpower, if I was overpowering into this fairway, I wouldn't have any fears at all of it because it's so wide that if we're off just a little to the left or the right, we hit a great to the left or the right, we can recover from that. But here, if you're on this track and you hit a great to the left, you're over here, you're sunk. You hit a great to the right, you're over here, you're sunk. Your only shot here is to hit that overpowered drive shot perfect every single time you get it. And that's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not going to happen for any of us. You may hit it 4 times right, but you got to play this whole 5 times in the tournament, from the qualifying round to the opening round to the weekend round. And if you don't hit it 5 times perfect, and the only shot that you're giving yourself is a perfect shot, then you're in big trouble. What I like to do here is start my ball a little bit further back so that I'm in this opening. I have a much bigger landing area here. And so I'm going to start my ball off in this area, and my ball guide is going to be, let's see if I can scroll back just a titch. So my ball guide here from this area to that is going in this direction. So I'm starting my ball off right here in this big area, and then I'm going to put on maximum side spin, maximum curl. That's why I'm bringing a Kingmaker. So I've got maximum side spin, 3 side spin, and max curl on my club. And I'm trying to land in this area and then bring my ball back around to this. So I have a much bigger area here. If I hit a great to the left or the right, I can still achieve what I want out here. A great to the right hurts me a little bit more because it does put this rough into play. A great to the left actually puts me out into the clear, into the fairway. So here I have a great to the left, a perfect, and one great to the right, and I don't have to do any overpower. So this shot here is going to be much more consistent, but you need a lot of curl. So you're going to need a higher level developed extra mile, or you're going to need, if you've got an apocalypse, if you've got a lower developed extra mile, you're going to have to work your ball. Instead of landing here, you're going to have to work your ball along this line, and you may have to land it just a little bit further to the left so that your side spin and curl become more effective. But I definitely don't like the shot that I see at least half the players do, probably more than half, where they're coming down into this area trying to max overpower into the narrowest part of this entire fairway. This whole fairway narrows down into that spot, and of all of the areas to hit, they're trying to hit into the narrowest spot of any fairway on this entire course. And I'm not a big fan of that. And it's not consistent. It's hard to be consistent on that. So do a non-overpowered shot from here. And don't try and get your ball up into this area. You're just trying to get here. You're not trying to get as much, but from this spot right here, the spot I'm talking about, when you come into the green, you're going to be able to start off on the green side. You're going to take everything else out of play, and you're going to be able to move your sniper right to the hole. Now, when you're coming at the green, there's two ways to do it. Everything on this green is running in this direction. Okay, so it's all sloping down towards the hole. So one of the ways that you can come at it is to start down low and then bring yourself up high and follow the curve and watch your ball guide and try and finesse it into the hole. The other thing that you can do is you can start a little bit lower down in this area, and it's flat down here on the bottom, and try and come more straight at the green instead of coming up just a little bit higher and trying to finesse your ball in. This shot right here, you're going to have to use less stuff on the ball in order to get it to go towards the hole. Every time I've hit an albatross here, I've hit it with this shot where I'm trying to go straight at it. But this is definitely a hole that is going to eat a bunch of people's lunches, because if you get in any trouble on this side of that line, you pretty much just took eagle out of the picture. And so you have to get out in here into the clear. And it doesn't matter where you get out in here in the clear. Even if you're at this first shadow, you can bounce from that spot right there, bounce over very easily, get on the green, get your eagle, and go home. So if you can't get a lot out of this shot, don't sweat it. Just get out here, bring your ball shortly out into this area. You can bounce off from over here. You can bounce off from over here and bring your ball through and get to that first shadow and give yourself this shot right here every single time with very little risk. Don't take a lot of risks on this hole, because the people that are taking a lot of risks, they may get up one on you here and there, but they're going to lose some shots on this hole, because this hole will eat your lunch. All right, that was kind of a quick walkthrough. As we play the holes, my goal day number one on Monday's qualifying round is to go out and establish what driver and what ball I'm going to use. And what I'm looking for, and I don't really care if I win or lose the holes or how that stuff goes. What I'm looking for is am I in the spot? Does this spot give me a good angle towards the green? Or should I have hit it to a different spot to give me a better angle? And what's that second club? So I don't like to go into a lot of the tournaments thinking, okay, hey, I'm going to use this club, and that's how I'm going to get on the green. I play it one step at a time. Monday is all about trying to establish what drive, where I'm going to drive to, what driver I'm going to use, and what ball I'm going to use. And then once I've established that, my next step is okay, I'm putting myself into this spot. Now, what is the best club to maximize where I put myself? And sometimes I can get that all done in the first day. And sometimes I have to go out there and, okay, we've worked the drive shot. Okay, this is where we want to get. This is the spot. This is the spot. We've been working really hard to get into this spot, and we really like the view from there. So that's going to be our drive shot. Now what do we need to make that next shot happen? So that by the time I get to Wednesday's qualifying round or the opening round on Thursday, I have a serious game plan for all these holes. I don't sweat it and go, oh my gosh, we're going to hole number 9 and that hole, and then you start thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? I already know what I'm going to do. I'm 100% confident if I go out there and I pick the clubs that I've already chosen and I pick that ball and I go out there and I hit that shot, that I'm going to achieve the goal that I'm looking for because I have a game plan at it. I see a lot of people in the weekend round on these tournaments and they're getting to holes like this and they're looking around for shots. It's like, dude, we've been playing this stuff all week. You should have came to this hole and went, hey, I need a kingmaker and an extra mile and I need a sniper and I'm going to hit my ball from here to here. And I mean, just start doing it. Confidence. You have to have confidence in your shots, and the only way you're going to have confidence in your shots is if you've worked those shots, so that when you get towards the opening round and the weekend round, you're set. It's not about like, what am I going to do on this hole, or man, this hole is really tough. There is no tough holes when you have a game plan. No, there's still tough holes. All right, that was the just kind of a basic beginning walkthrough on the Skyline Cup. As the week progresses, I will do Monday. I'll do try and do a couple qualifying rounds. I had some issues on the last tournament. I had a bunch of video files. I recorded a bunch of stuff, and I had a bunch of video files that got corrupted, and I lost 4 practice rounds and 2 qualifying rounds, and it was so I'll try not to have that happen this week. I will try and post as I go through my rounds. All right, thanks for watching.